Watching Donald Trump tonight on CNN was sort of surreal, and I'll tell you why. And I really hope that you'll really hear what I have to say tonight. The reason it was surreal because CNN said that Donald Trump would never be back on CNN. They said that he would never be on their network again. And there he was tonight on CNN after they said he would never be back on their network. When I was watching it, I was reminded of the last 3 years that we have all been through together. And I looked up and I saw on the stage a man that should be over and done with. A man that has been through every attack imaginable. And somehow, he's still standing. As a matter of fact, he's standing on CNN after they said he would never be back. Now, I want to take you back on a journey that we've all been on. Whenever Donald Trump disappeared from the White House, and we all know that story, so many of you watching went through so many different emotions. We all did. And as time went on, and you began to see things did not happen the way that certain podcasters were promising it would happen by certain dates and certain timelines and certain ways, many of you began to lose faith. Whether you admit it or not, you did. And yet, the Lord placed an anointing on my life to take a microphone 5 nights a week in the beginning, and now 2 nights a week, to keep repeating to you the truth. Professor Toto, which is my twin brother, has gone live every night faithfully to promise you one thing, that Donald Trump was not over with. Now, we never gave you any of the false narratives. We never told you the military was going to reinstate him. We never told you that there was a secret plan. We told you there was a God plan, and we showed you that God plan, and we've been faithful to that. We have been faithful to that. We've been mocked. We've been made fun of. Some of you watching right now have been part of that group. We've been ridiculed for believing what God said about Donald Trump. But tonight, I looked on the stage and saw Donald Trump standing in front of Jezebel, because that's who she was, Jezebel. I saw that spirit of hatred on her. And yet he put himself in that position. He walked into the lion's den tonight. He literally walked into the lion's den for you and for me. What does Donald Trump get out of it? What does he get out of it besides his home being raided for doing exactly what Joe Biden did? What does Trump get out of any of this? Nothing. Tonight, he walked into the lion's den. And he did it for you, and he did it for me, and for this great nation. However, many of you fail to understand that Donald Trump is returning exactly like Professor Toto told you for 2 to 3 years now. We have never changed our message. Why? Because we know where it came from. We told you that he would not come back on the wings of a dove. Maybe the wings of an eagle, but anyway. We told you he would not come back with some other republic that was being formed and all of that. We told you he would return in 2024, Roar 24. And we have never changed that message. And tonight I was so proud that we've not changed that message. The day after a jury from Manhattan, a Trump-hating district, convicted him or exonerated him of rape, thank the Lord, Even a liberal jury couldn't quite do that. They couldn't convict him of rape. So they brought up some lesser stuff. But of course, that'll go away on appeal. And then E. Jean Carroll will have to pay Trump just like Stormy Daniels did. It's going to be marvelous to watch. Everything they throw at the man falls. Here's why. He's an imperfect man. He's a flawed man. He's a man with many mistakes. But he's God's man. For this moment in America. Tomorrow, Thursday, the floodgates of hell will open on the United States southern border. You will begin to see more illegal immigration across our nation. You'll watch others, illegal immigrants, take the jobs of your sons and your daughters. And you will then know why God has raised Donald Trump up for America. I just want to encourage you tonight. We've come so far, and this party is just getting started. Do you know something? Can I tell you something? I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read some of your comments. Can I remind you of something? Donald Trump is the front runner. Did you know that? Do you know he's 7 points ahead of Biden in the national polls? We're talking about a man that was over, done with. A man that could never, ever, ever, ever return to the White House, according to them. But we knew all along. I told you so. Oh, I told you so. I've been telling you so for 3 years. It's not because I'm smart. I'm really not. But I know the voice. And when you've heard the voice, you can ignore the noise. When you've heard the voice, you can ignore the noise. And everything we've told you, many of you did not even believe he would still be standing. You were looking at DeSantis. Poor pitiful you. To look at a traitor. That's what DeSantis is. I don't care if you like it or not. Great governor, but he betrayed our president. He did. And many of you are looking at a man that's a lesser man than Donald Trump. Shame on you. Come back home. Come back to the man that Yahweh has anointed for this hour. DeSantis is trying to take a throne that is not his. However, it is my prayer that somehow it's all a game and that, that DeSantis will not even run. Dennis Santiago, that is a very kind thing for you to say, sir. I want everyone watching me to know this. Donald Trump was not supposed to be on CNN tonight. It is destroying the enemy to see him back in their territory with a voice. And Jezebel stood there before him, trying her best to defeat the voice. And the voice kept drowning her out. Ladies and gentlemen, when truth comes forth, lies must lay down. Bob, that was very kind. Thank you so much. Donald Trump was standing in the enemy's camp tonight, and he's supposed to be over and done with. He is supposed to be history, and yet he's the future. You see, when God's hands are in something, you cannot bring it down. Poor pitiful you. They'll be looking back on January the 20th of 2025, saying the same lies, and he'll be the president. And you will be vindicated. Christine Latchney, thank you. Bob Tabor, good evening, my friend. I'm here tonight, Shelley Deckard, to remind everyone of how Donald Trump is still standing. Do you know that's not natural? Do you know that every force of our government has come against him? And somehow, you're right, Kim Winsell Reed, the audience loves their president tonight. This man is supposed to be over with. No other mortal man could still be standing. And there he was, standing proud, standing strong. And notice what he's never done. He's never allowed them to change his story. They want to. I watched some of the news pundits after, and they're like, he just needs to maybe say he's thought about this and he's changed his mind. Then that would make him a liar. See, the truth will stand when the world's on fire. Thank you, Karen Caruth. Catherine Stivers, God bless you. Stacy Swan, good evening. Becca Stafford and Ruth Rosario and Vicky Rasmussen. Never waver. That's right, Gerald Munn. Never waver, folks. Our moment is about to come. Why? Because you, the army of the Lord. I'll never forget, every October, Professor Toto has a retreat at Lake Gunnersville, Alabama. Many of you have been to that retreat. It's going to be this year, October the 4th through the 8th. If you're not registered, it's free of charge, no registration fee. We want you to come October the 4th through the 8th. Go register right now at registerfortabernacles.com. Register, F-O-R, tabernacles, that's plural, .com. Anyway, last year, the Lord gave me a theme for last year's tabernacle retreat. It was called A Miracle in the Midterms. And at that moment, everybody was believing, that was right before the November election, for a great red wave. And we all gathered together on the side of a mountain, a couple of hundred of us. We gathered together every morning on the side of a mountain overlooking the most beautiful lake you'll ever see. We lifted our hands from the north, the south, the east, and the west, and asked Yahweh for a miracle in the midterms. And I'll never forget the day after the election when we did not have a red wave. And everybody was so disappointed. And I heard the voice of the Lord speak to me and say, I gave you your miracle in the midterms. And my carnal mind was thinking, excuse me? You gave us a miracle in the midterms? And it was then that the Father revealed to me the miracle. Had we had a red wave, we would have had no control in the Congress. If we had had a red wave, there would be no hearings going on right now. There would be nothing being revealed like was revealed at the news conference this morning. It was because we didn't get a red wave that we took control of Kevin McCarthy. We had a miracle in the midterms that we prayed for. Now, I'm saying all of that to say this. Perish the thought that God is not in control. And I want to bring it to a close. For those of you that are so worried about the voting and the cheating and this and that, I want to would you allow me to lovingly correct you tonight? Would you just offer me that for one moment? What God do you serve? Do you serve a God that cannot outsmart the cheaters? He did it in 2016, did he not? But why didn't he do it in 2020? There was a plan that's bigger than you and bigger than me. And Yahweh knew that if they would have impeached him, he could never run for president again. So on January, the day after January the 6th, if God would have allowed Trump to return to the White House, the Senate and the House would have impeached him for a third time, and it would have gone all the way through and disqualified him from ever saving America. See, God knew what he was doing, beloved. When you learn that God is in control and he needs you to work for him and you to put your hand to the plow, then you don't worry about any of those things. Dolores Taylor, thank you so very kindly. I want to call all of you tonight. You really need to share this. You need to remind your fellow patriots it's time to quit doubting and it's time to start shouting. It's time to quit complaining, and it's time for you to start dancing in the rain, because our moment is here. Our man stood tonight on CNN in the lion's den against Jezebel herself, and the people loved it. And the polls are turning in his favor. Remember, you were crazy for believing in this day. Remember, you were crazy for thinking Trump would ever return. Do you not remember those days? I do. I've got the death threats to prove it. When they put Professor Toto all over the news night and day, on every left-wing liberal magazine, my face was appeared. How foolish I was to believe it was even possible. Thank God we never went down the rabbit trails with you. I thank God that we never went down the conspiracy route where we knew from the beginning there would be two terms. I want you to go back and remember the moment when you couldn't figure it out, and now see how perfectly it's playing out, and find your faith again in a God that sets up kings and takes them down, in a God that raises up nations and brings them down. If you'll find your faith, you'll lose your fear. Good night, everybody.